The night was dark, and the air was thick with the scent of the unknown. A small spacecraft descended from the sky, its lights flashing faintly before it crashed into the dense forest below. The ground shook as the ship slammed into the earth, sending a cloud of dust into the air. The ship's hatch opened, and from within, a fierce figure stepped out. She was an alien, a creature unlike anything the human world had ever seen. Her skin was a deep shade of violet, smooth yet tough. Her eyes, glowing a brilliant yellow, scanned the surroundings, taking in every detail with a hunter's instinct. Claws extended from her fingertips, sharp and ready for battle. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, but there was no time to notice the beauty of it. She had more pressing matters to deal with. She was injured, her body covered with bruises, cuts, and scars from the battle she had narrowly escaped. She had been fighting for days, running, hiding, and surviving. Her people, her entire clan, had been wiped out in a brutal conflict, leaving her alone on this strange world. She was angry, tired, and desperate for some kind of answer. The pain from her wounds only added to her fury, but she had learned long ago not to show weakness. Weakness meant death, and she would never allow herself to be weak. As she limped forward, her mind raced. There was no plan, no escape route, just survival. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of the battle she had just lost. She had no allies, no friends, and she couldn't even remember the last time she had felt safe. Every corner of the world seemed like an enemy, every sound a threat. She trudged deeper into the forest, her senses on high alert. Something didn't feel right. There was a presence nearby, something different. It wasn't the same as the monsters she had fought before. This felt strange, like another being, a living creature, just watching her from the shadows. With every step, her anger grew. She didn't care about this place. She didn't care about the people who lived here. All she wanted was to heal and then get away, find a new place, a new battle, and fight until her anger was gone. But she knew better. Her anger would never leave her. Not now, not after everything she had lost. Suddenly, a sound echoed through the trees. It was quiet at first, almost like a whisper on the wind. But then it grew louder, footsteps, a human. She stopped dead in her tracks, her yellow eyes narrowing in suspicion. She had been on many worlds, and she had seen humans before. Some were weak, some were ruthless. But all of them were prey to her kind, and now she was stranded on a planet full of them. The alien girl's body tensed as she prepared to fight. She couldn't afford to show mercy, not now, not ever. Her claws twitched in anticipation as the footsteps drew closer. But as she turned to face the source of the noise, something unexpected happened. Out of the shadows emerged a man, a human. He was tall, with short, dark hair and eyes that seemed dying. He looked surprised to see her, his hands raised in an attempt to show he wasn't a threat. The alien girl's heart raced. She had fought humans before, but none of them had ever shown such fearlessness. "Stay back," she hissed, her voice a low growl. She took a step forward, ready to attack. The human froze, his eyes widening, but he didn't run. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly, his voice calm, almost soothing. "I saw your ship crash. Are you okay?" The alien girl stared at him, unsure of what to do. Her instincts screamed at her to tear him apart. But something about him, the way he stood there, unarmed, no sign of aggression, made her hesitate. Could she trust him? No, she couldn't, not after everything. "You're not my enemy," the human continued, his voice steady. "You're hurt. Let me help you." She snarled at the suggestion. Help? From a human? It was laughable. She didn't need anyone's help. Not now, not ever. But the reality of her situation was clear. She was alone, wounded, and stranded on a planet she knew nothing about. The human took a small step forward, his hand reaching out slowly, cautiously. The alien girl watched him, her body tense, ready to strike. But the human's face softened, his eyes filled with something she couldn't quite place. Fear? Pity? Or something else entirely? "You don't have to be alone," he said softly. "I can help you." The words hit her like a punch to the gut. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to believe it. But deep down, in a place she rarely acknowledged, something stirred. A flicker of hope? Could he really help her? Could she trust him? The alien girl took a step back, the tension in her body slowly ebbing. She wasn't sure what to make of this human. She had never trusted one before. But for the first time in a long while, she felt something she had forgotten, an inkling of hope that maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't have to face this fight alone. And so, despite every instinct telling her to run, she stood still, watching him. And the human, slowly but surely, began to step closer. The moonlight barely touched the forest floor, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch on forever. The alien girl, still struggling with her injuries, limped further into the dense woods. Every step sent sharp pain shooting through her body. But she refused to show weakness. Her pride wouldn't allow it. She was a warrior, one who had survived countless battles. And this was just another test, but this place, this strange planet, felt different. She wasn't sure why, but something about the air, the earth beneath her, made her feel fragile. It wasn't like the harsh, unforgiving worlds she had come from. It wasn't like the war-torn battlegrounds she had fought on. No, this planet was soft, almost welcoming. And that made her even more uneasy. As she moved forward, she could feel the weight of her wounds pulling her down. Her chest burned, her side throbbed with each breath, and yet she pressed on. She had to. There was no other choice. There was no room for weakness. Not for her. A soft rustling sound broke through her thoughts. She froze, her senses on high. Alert, a low growl rumbled in her throat as she turned to face the source of the noise. Her yellow eyes gleamed in the darkness, searching for any sign of danger. To her surprise, it wasn't an animal. It was the human, the one who had approached her earlier. He had followed her. "You're still here?" she hissed, her voice sharp and filled with mistrust. She had made it clear that she wanted to be left alone. Why wouldn't he just go away? "I couldn't leave you out here," the human said quietly, his voice calm despite the tension. "You're hurt. You need help." The alien girl bristled at the words, help. She didn't need help. Not from him, not from anyone. She had spent her entire life fighting alone, surviving alone. She didn't need anyone's pity, least of all from a human. "I told you to stay away," she growled, taking a step toward him, her claws flexing. "I don't need your help. I don't want your help." The human didn't flinch. He stood there, watching her with those same calm eyes, his expression unreadable. "I'm not here to fight you. I'm just trying to help." "Help?" The alien's voice cracked with a bitter laugh. "What could you possibly help with? You're weak. You can't even defend yourself." The human paused, taking a deep breath. "Maybe, but I can still offer you something. You don't have safety, a chance to heal." The alien girl's fists tightened. She was tempted to lash out, to tear him apart for his words. But something in the way he spoke, the way his voice remained steady and soft, kept her from attacking. "Safety?" She spat the word like it was poison. "I don't need safety. I need strength. I need power. I need revenge." Her voice wavered slightly, but she quickly regained control. She had no place for softness, no place for those emotions she had buried deep inside for so long. She was a warrior, not a broken thing looking for comfort. The human took a cautious step forward, his hand raised slightly. "You can still have those things, but you can't get them while you're like this, hurt, alone and angry. You have to heal first," the alien girl scoffed. "Heal? You think I need to heal? I've fought wars. I've seen battles that would break a lesser being, and I've survived. I'm a warrior. I don't need healing. But even warriors need rest," the human said softly. "Even the fiercest creatures need time to recover." His words struck a chord deep within her, one she hadn't expected. She took a deep breath, her anger flaring for a moment, but it quickly dissipated. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to feel. She had spent so long being angry, so long focusing on her pain and her rage, that she had forgotten what it meant to simply be. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The alien girl stood there, her eyes fixed on the human, her body aching and trembling. She didn't trust him, not yet. But there was something in his eyes, something she couldn't quite place. It wasn't pity, and it wasn't fear. It was understanding. "I'm not asking you to trust me," the human said, breaking the silence. "I'm just asking you to let me help you, just for tonight. After that, you can go wherever you want." The alien girl stared at him, her mind torn between her pride and the overwhelming fatigue that weighed her down. She hated feeling weak, but she hated the thought of dying alone even more. For the first time in what felt like forever, she lowered her claws, though her fists remained clenched. "Fine," she said, her voice cold. "I'll let you help me, but I'm not your ally." "And I'm not staying long?" The human nodded, a small, relieved smile tugging at his lips. "That's all I'm asking for." As he carefully approached, the alien girl couldn't help but feel a strange sense of relief. Not because of the help, but because, for the first time in a long time, she wasn't alone in the darkness. This part builds. The night stretched on in quiet stillness. The alien girl, still suspicious and bitter, lay against a bed of leaves, her body sore and covered in dirt. She had accepted the human's offer of help, but it didn't mean she trusted him. Not yet. The human had tended to her wounds as best as he could, cleaning and bandaging her injuries. She had let him, her sharp eyes always watching him, her claws twitching with the urge to strike at any sign of weakness. But he had been steady, unwavering, and calm, never flinching as he worked. It confused her. She had known humans to be either desperate or dangerous, never calm in the face of a creature like her. Now, the two of them sat near a small fire, the warmth of the flames pushing back the chill of the night. The alien girl, her eyes burning with distrust, couldn't help but watch the human as he poked the fire with a stick, the flames flickering brightly. He was eating some dried food he had found, his back turned to her, his posture relaxed. He didn't seem afraid. Why? Was he that naive, or was there something else she wasn't seeing? "You're different," she muttered under her breath. Barely loud enough for him to hear, the human didn't respond immediately. He finished chewing and then looked over his shoulder at her, his face unreadable. "What do you mean?" "You're not like the others," she growled softly, narrowing her glowing yellow eyes. "The others who see me as nothing but a monster? They fear me, they try to fight me, You're not a monster," he interrupted. His voice low but firm, the words struck her like a blow, unexpected and sharp. The alien girl stilled, her chest tightening. She had never been called anything but a weapon, a fierce force of destruction. A monster was what she had been made to be. That was her identity. She had believed it, had embraced it, because there was no other way for someone like her to survive. But his words, "You're not a monster." She couldn't bring herself to say anything, her mind racing with conflicting thoughts. She was supposed to be strong, powerful, feared. But here she was, being called something else, something softer, something human? She stood abruptly, her body still weak from the fight, and walked a few steps away from the fire. She needed space. Needed to be alone. She didn't need this human's kindness. She didn't need to be looked at like she was something more than just a warrior, a killer. The human, not missing a beat, stood and followed her, his footsteps light but determined. "You don't have to go alone," he said, his voice quiet. "I know you want to. I know you want to run and hide and keep." All that anger locked up, but the alien girl spun around to face him, her face twisted with frustration and fury. "You don't know anything about me?" she snarled, her claws glinting in the firelight. "You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what it's like to lose everything. You don't know what it's like to feel nothing but rage." She took a step toward him, her eyes flashing like fire as she let her anger out, letting it burn through her words. "I don't want your pity. I don't want your help. I don't want anyone to see me as something I'm not. So stay out of my way." The human took a deep breath but didn't step back. Instead, he stood his ground, his eyes locking with hers. "I'm not pitying you. And I'm not trying to change who you are. But maybe you don't have to be alone anymore. Maybe there's a better way to fight than the one you've been using." Her heart skipped a beat, her anger beginning to falter as something else stirred inside her. What was he saying? A better way to fight? The warrior in her rejected it immediately. There was no other way. Violence and strength were the only tools she had ever known. But a small voice, a voice she had long buried, whispered a different truth. Maybe he was right. She couldn't understand it. She couldn't even begin to process what he was offering. But for the first time, she felt something other than rage and bitterness, a strange mix of confusion and curiosity. The human smiled softly, stepping back just slightly. "I'm not asking you to trust me," he said gently. "I'm asking you to give yourself a chance to heal. You don't have to fight all the time." The alien girl stared at him, her fists tightening and loosening as she battled with her emotions. She had always fought, always had to. She didn't know how to live any other way. And yet, here was this human telling her she didn't have to be a weapon, telling her she could heal. The thought was alien to her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The night grew colder, and the fire crackled softly between them, the heat pushing back the darkness. The alien girl shifted uncomfortably, the weight of her own thoughts pressing down on her. "I don't know how to let go," she whispered, more to herself than to him. The words hung in the air, raw and vulnerable. "I've never known anything else." The human sat down again, this time closer to the fire, his expression soft. "You don't have to know how right away. We can figure it out together." The alien girl stood there, watching him, her mind racing. She had never allowed herself to trust anyone. But this human, this stranger, had done the unthinkable. He had shown her kindness without asking for anything in return. And despite herself, she felt something stir inside her, something warm and unfamiliar. For the first time, she wasn't sure if she was alone in this world anymore. The morning light broke through the thick trees, casting soft beams of sunlight onto the forest floor. The alien girl woke, her body still sore from the wounds she had sustained. She winced as she stretched, the pain sharp but bearable. Her eyes flickered open as she found herself staring at the human, who was already awake, sitting by the fire and sharpening a small knife. He didn't seem to notice her watching him. He was focused on his task. Her thoughts were tangled. Every part of her wanted to push him away, to keep him at a distance, yet here he was again, unbothered by her anger, offering no threats, no demands. It was unnerving. It made her feel exposed. She had been alone for so long, a warrior who had fought to survive, and now, for the first time, someone cared? And it scared her. She wasn't sure if she could handle it. The human caught her gaze and smiled. A simple, warm gesture that made her chest tighten in an unfamiliar way. He didn't say anything at first. Just a quiet acknowledgement that she was awake, that she was there, still alive. "You're still hurt," he said, his voice soft but firm, the same steady tone he always used. "Let me help you." She narrowed her eyes at him. She didn't need help. She had never needed anyone's help. But the sharp pain in her side reminded her that she was weak. She had no choice. She had to let him tend to her wounds again. "I don't need you to pity me," she muttered, trying to sound defiant. "I can take care of myself." The human didn't flinch at her words, continuing his task, sharpening his knife. "I'm not pitying you," he said, his eyes glancing briefly at her. "I'm just offering you something you've probably never had before." She tilted her head slightly, confused. "What?" "Rest," he said simply. "A chance to heal, to not have to fight every second of your existence." The words caught her off guard. Rest. She had never known rest. Not after all the battles, the wars, the betrayals. Rest felt like something distant, something she could never afford. To her, survival was about constant vigilance, about never letting down her guard. To stop was to die, but there was something in his tone that made her pause, a softness, a kindness she hadn't experienced in a long time. She felt a flicker of something inside, something small but powerful, doubt. Was it possible that she didn't have to be constantly on edge? Was it possible to let someone else take the weight of her pain, even just for a moment? Without thinking, she sat up, her body stiff from the exertion. She winced, the pain flaring in her side, but she ignored it. Her gaze locked on him as she spoke, the words coming out more quietly than she intended. "I don't know how to stop fighting," He set the knife down and turned to her fully, his eyes sincere and understanding. You don't have to stop fighting. Not everything requires a fight. Sometimes the most difficult battles are the ones we fight with ourselves. The ones where we have to learn how to let go of the things that hurt us. The alien girl stared at him, stunned by his words. She had spent her entire life fighting for survival, fighting for vengeance. She had buried her pain deep inside, never allowing herself to question her path. But now, as the human's words settled over her, something cracked within her. She didn't want to admit it, but it felt like she had been carrying the weight of the universe on her shoulders for so long that she didn't even remember what it was like to be free of it. For the first time, she felt vulnerable, and she hated it. The human reached into his pack and pulled out a small pouch of herbs. I'll make you something to ease the pain. You'll feel better soon. She stared at the pouch, the instinct to reject his help still strong. She didn't want to be weak, but the truth was she was exhausted. She had been fighting for so long, and she was tired of the endless battles, tired of the loneliness, tired of the anger. Reluctantly, she let him approach, her body stiff and her pride intact, but her mind wavered. He didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't even look at her like she was a weapon. She wasn't sure if she was ready for that, ready to see herself through anyone else's eyes, but for now, she allowed him to help Dot as he ground the herbs into a powder. She felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. A small, fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to heal, a way to stop running, a way to stop fighting so hard against everything that had happened to her. She took the herbal mixture, her fingers brushing his as she held the cup. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and she could have sworn there was something there, something unspoken. Trust? Compassion? She wasn't sure, but as the bitter liquid slid down her throat, she closed her eyes, her body relaxing slightly. The pain in her side eased, and her mind quieted for the first time in days. It wasn't much, but it was a start. You're not alone, the human said, breaking the silence. She didn't respond immediately. Her heart was too heavy, her mind too full. But in that moment, as the fire crackled and the pain dulled, she allowed herself to breathe. Just breathe, and for the first time, she didn't feel like a monster. She felt like someone who might be able to heal. Days passed, and the alien girl felt herself caught in an unfamiliar current, one that pulled her away from the sharp edge of her past and toward something softer. Something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. The human was always there, patient and kind, never forcing anything on her, never rushing her to change. It was as if he knew that healing could not be hurried. Each day, her wounds slowly healed, but it wasn't just her body that was mending. A deeper part of her, something she had long buried under layers of anger and grief, was beginning to stir, like a long-forgotten memory waking from a deep sleep. One morning, the alien girl woke up to the sound of birds singing in the distance, a sound she had never truly noticed before. She blinked at the rays of sunlight streaming through the trees, her body sore but no longer in agony. She had been resting, recovering, but now she was restless. It was strange. She had never felt this way before. There was a calmness in her chest, a strange yearning to understand what was happening inside her. She stood up slowly, stretching her limbs, feeling the softness of the grass beneath her feet. For a moment, she just stood there, letting the cool breeze ruffle her hair. She didn't even realize how much time had passed since she had felt the wind this way. The last time she had felt anything like this peace was in her childhood. Before everything had been taken from her, she had been trained to be fierce, to fight, to never show weakness. But here, in this quiet place, something was different. The anger that had fueled her every move was slowly ebbing away, replaced by an unfamiliar sense of calm. The human was sitting by the fire, cooking something in a pot, his back to her. He was always calm, always steady, like a rock in the middle of a storm. She watched him for a long moment, feeling a strange pull toward him, a pull that she couldn't explain. He had helped her heal, not just physically, but in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. For the first time, she didn't feel the need to prove herself to him. She didn't have to be the warrior anymore. Her eyes softened as she stepped closer, the heat from the fire warming her face. The human turned to look at her, his expression gentle. He smiled, and something stirred inside her, something fragile and foreign. "Feeling better?" he asked, his voice light, as if they had known each other for years. The alien girl nodded, her lips curling slightly in an almost imperceptible smile. "Yes," she murmured, unsure of what to say. I think I am." The human stood and handed her a small bowl filled with a steaming liquid. "It's not much, but it should help with your strength." She took the bowl from him, her fingers brushing his lightly. The contact sent a strange shiver through her, but she didn't pull away. She drank the liquid slowly, savoring the warmth, feeling the strength returning to her limbs. As she finished, she looked up at the human, who was watching her closely. His gaze steady. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice tinged with curiosity. "Why do you keep helping me?" "You don't know me. You could leave me here, and it wouldn't change anything for you." The human paused, and for a moment there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Then he spoke, his voice simple yet sincere. "Because I believe you're more than just the pain you carry. And I think deep down you know it too." The alien girl stared at him, the words sinking deep into her chest. More than just the pain she carried. She had never thought of herself that way. To her, she was the sum of her battles, her scars, her anger. She was a weapon, a survivor. But what if there was more to her? What if there was more to being alive than simply fighting to survive? The thought was dizzying, and for a moment she felt an overwhelming sense of vulnerability. She wanted to push it all down, to shove those emotions back into the dark corner, where they belonged, but the human's steady gaze kept her grounded. He wasn't asking her to be anyone else. He wasn't demanding anything. He was simply ... She stood silently, feeling an unfamiliar warmth spreading inside her. It was as if a tiny seed had been planted deep within her heart, one that she hadn't known existed. Slowly, ever so slowly, it began to take root. "You're not like the others," she said, almost to herself. The words felt strange coming from her, but they were true. She had never met anyone like him, someone who wasn't afraid of her, who didn't see her as a monster to be feared. The human chuckled softly, the sound light and reassuring. "Neither are you." It was the first time she had heard him laugh. It was soft, almost as if he were laughing at the absurdity of the situation, and yet there was something in it that made her feel ... died. A strange, unexpected warmth filled her chest, and for the first time in her life, the fierce alien girl realized that maybe, just maybe, it was okay to let go of her anger. Maybe it was okay to be something else. She looked at the human, her eyes softening. "Thank you," she whispered, not sure why the words felt so heavy. She had never thanked anyone before, never needed to. But in that moment, as the light of the fire danced in his eyes, she realized that he had done something for her that no one else ever had. He had shown her kindness, and in doing so, he had helped her remember that she was still capable of feeling something other than fury. For the first time in what felt like forever, the alien girl allowed herself to believe in something more. She wasn't just a warrior. She wasn't just a monster. Maybe she could be something else, something softer, something ... human ... And so, for the first time, she allowed herself to rest, to feel the comfort of being cared for, and to embrace the possibility of change. Slowly, gently, the fierce alien girl was becoming something new. The days had become a blur of calm moments and small victories. The alien girl, once a creature of fury and battle, had begun to settle into this new, strange life with the human. They spent their days in the quiet forest, learning each other's routines, sharing food, and speaking less about their past than she would have expected, but something deep within her told her that the peace they had found together couldn't last forever. The world, her world, had always been one of constant danger, and no amount of time with the human could erase the years of struggle, of survival that she had known. The truth was, she had always been a warrior, and warriors never rested for long. One afternoon, the winds shifted, carrying with it a familiar scent. The alien girl froze, her senses sharpening instantly. Her yellow eyes narrowed, scanning the horizon. Something was coming. Something's wrong, she whispered, more to herself than to the human. She stood up abruptly, the earth beneath, her feet almost feeling foreign after so much time in stillness. Her muscles tensed, instinctively preparing for a fight, even though she knew she hadn't been this ready in months. The familiar pang of adrenaline coursed through her veins, awakening the warrior inside her. The human, sensing the change in her, turned to her, a puzzled expression on his face. "What is it?" The alien girl didn't answer immediately. She was already moving, her feet carrying her across the forest floor with a quiet urgency. She heard the faint sound of footsteps, too many to be animals, and they were coming closer. A flash of memory hit her, an old battle tactic. A reminder that her peace would always be fragile, no matter how much she wanted it. "They're coming," she said, her voice low and firm. "They found me." The human's eyes widened. "Who? Who's coming?" Her heart clenched, the weight of her past rushing back in a flood of memories. It was too late to run. The alien forces that had once hunted her own people were now tracking her down. Her old life was calling her back, and with it came the violence she had tried so hard to leave behind. "I won't leave you," the human said quickly, his voice unyielding. He moved to stand beside her, even though she could see the fear in his eyes. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't built for this kind of danger, and she wasn't sure what kind of help he could offer. Still, he remained there, steadfast. "Stay behind me," the alien girl ordered, her voice sharp and commanding. But as the sounds of footsteps grew louder, a realization hit her hard. For the first time in her life, she didn't want to fight alone. She didn't want to face whatever was coming by herself. She wanted ... Not as a warrior, but as someone who might truly understand what it meant to be human in the face of overwhelming odds. The air around them thickened, and in the distance, she could see the shapes of figures moving toward them, alien soldiers, dressed in dark armor, their weapons gleaming under the dim sunlight. The alien girl's claws extended. Involuntarily, her body poised to strike, but then something unexpected happened. She felt the human's hand on her arm. His touch was firm but gentle, not a command but an anchor. "We fight together," he said, his voice steady, despite the fear that radiated off him. "We've been through worse." For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The alien girl looked at him, her heart pounding. She had always fought alone. She had been trained to do everything on her own. But now, with the human beside her, she felt something different. Something terrifyingly. Right. "I won't leave you either," he added, his eyes filled with quiet resolve. The alien girl's mind spun. She had never trusted anyone, never allowed anyone into her world. But as she looked at him, standing there, unarmed and yet unafraid, something in her chest softened. She didn't know if it was bravery or foolishness that made him stand by her side, but it didn't matter. They were a team now, even if she didn't fully understand what that meant yet. The first of the alien soldiers stepped into view, his red eyes locking onto hers. "You are a traitor," he spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "And you will pay for your defection." The alien girl's heart surged with anger, but now it wasn't just about her own revenge. It was about the human standing next to her, trusting her, ready to fight alongside her. She would protect him, just as he had protected her. She wasn't alone anymore. "We'll see about that," she said, her voice low and deadly. She turned to the human. "Stay close. Follow my lead." The human nodded, a grim determination on his face. Without another word, she sprang forward, her claws slashing through the air as the first alien soldier lunged at her. The battle had begun, but this time, she wasn't fighting alone. As the fight raged on, the alien girl's instincts kicked in, but so did something else, a deeper connection to the human by her side. She fought with more purpose than ever before, not just for herself, but for them both. For the first time, she realized that even the fiercest warriors needed allies. Even the most powerful beings could fall alone, and together they would stand tall. Together they would face whatever came next. The battle had ended as quickly as it had begun, the air thick with the tension of survival. The alien girl stood over the fallen bodies of her enemies, her chest heaving as she wiped the blood from her claws. Her mind buzzed with the adrenaline of the fight, but as the echoes of battle faded, she turned to find the human standing a few paces behind her, watching her intently, his face set in a mixture of awe and relief. They had done it, together. The forest around them was eerily still, the only sound the soft rustling of the trees in the gentle breeze. The alien girl glanced at the human, who was checking the bodies of the soldiers to ensure they were truly finished. He didn't flinch, didn't look at her as though she were some kind of monster. He looked at her like they had just been through something together, something that had changed both of them. "You were incredible," the human said softly, his voice tinged with respect. "I've never seen anyone fight like that before." She didn't know how to respond. The words didn't feel like praise. They felt more like a question, as if he was trying to understand her, to see beyond the warrior that had once defined her. She turned away, trying to shake off the lingering effects of the fight. She had killed before. She had been trained for it, raised for it. But this time, the blood on her hands didn't feel like victory. It felt different. The weight of it was heavier than it had ever been. The fight, the anger, it had all been so familiar, so ingrained in her existence. But now, with the human standing beside her, it felt less like survival and more like something she had to question. "Are you okay?" he asked, stepping closer. The alien girl nodded, though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. The fight had been instinctive, but it had also been a test of what she was willing to become, what she was willing to hold on to. The world she had come from had always been one of violence, of strength at any cost. But now, she wasn't sure if that was the life she wanted anymore. "I'm fine," she said, though her voice betrayed her uncertainty. She clenched her fists at her sides, but it didn't help. She still felt unsettled. The human stepped closer, his presence calm but steady. "You don't have to be a fighter all the time, you know. You've proven enough. You've fought for so long, and now, maybe it's time to let go." Her eyes met his, searching for something, perhaps an answer, perhaps some form of clarity. His words hung in the air, soft but heavy, offering her something she hadn't even considered before. A choice. For so long she had defined herself by the battle, by the pain, by the need for vengeance. But now, in this moment, she realized something that both frightened and relieved her. She didn't have to keep fighting. She didn't have to be defined by the scars on her skin or the blood on her hands. The alien girl stood tall, feeling a strange pull deep inside her chest. It was as though the weight of her past was lifting piece by piece, each moment spent with the human slowly unwinding the tangled knot of her rage. "Maybe it is time," she whispered, her voice softer than it had ever been. "Maybe it's time to stop fighting." The human smiled, a quiet, gentle smile that reached his eyes. "You don't have to fight alone anymore." For the first time, the alien girl felt the truth of his words settle into her bones. She had been alone for so long, battling the world and everyone in it, but now there was someone by her side. Someone who didn't see her as a weapon, but as something more. Something worth saving. She took a deep breath, feeling the coolness of the air around her. She had been so focused on surviving, on winning, that she had never given herself the chance to live. But now, with the human at her side, with the knowledge that she wasn't alone in this fight, she felt the possibility of a new path open before her. It wasn't an easy choice, and it would take time to fully let go of the warrior. She had been the one who had fought and bled for every scrap of survival. But for the first time, she was willing to try, to believe in something beyond the battle. The alien girl glanced at the human, a soft smile curving her lips. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder at the uncertainty of the future. He stepped closer, his eyes filled with a warmth that made her feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. "Now, we live together. We find a place to rest, to heal, and maybe, just maybe, we learn what it means to truly be alive." For the first time, the alien girl didn't feel the need to question him. She didn't feel the need to fight. She just followed him, letting the quiet peace of the forest wrap around them both. And as they walked together into the unknown, Hand in hand, she realized that it was okay to let go, it was okay to stop fighting. Because for the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. Together, they would find a new beginning.